I was homeless at 17 when my parents kicked me out for being too difficult. Now my tech company is worth $14 million and they're suing me, claiming they're entitled to half because they raised me to be successful. Growing up, I was always the family disappointment according to my parents. My sister Madison was the golden child, straight A's, popular class president. I struggled with undiagnosed ADHD, which my parents called being deliberately difficult. When my high school principal suggested I get evaluated, my father said they wouldn't waste money medicating normal teenage rebellion. The final straw came during my junior year. I was caught skipping class to work on a coding project in the library. My parents emptied my room while I was at school, leaving my belongings in garbage bags on the porch with a note saying I clearly didn't respect their rules, so I could try life on my own terms. I couch surfed with friends until my computer science teacher, Mr. Ramirez, discovered my situation. He and his wife offered me their garage apartment in exchange for yard work and helping in his brother's auto repair shop on weekends. They even helped me get professionally evaluated. Turns out, I had severe ADHD and mild dyslexia. With proper medication and support, I finished high school while working and teaching myself advanced programming. Mr. Ramirez co-signed my first apartment lease when I landed a junior developer job at 19. Over the next 8 years, I worked obsessively, moving from company to company, gaining experience. At 27, I launched Security Shield, a cybersecurity platform for small businesses that major competitors were ignoring. We hit $1 million in revenue our second year. Last month, after a successful Series B funding round, my company was valued at $14 million, and the story was featured in several tech publications and local news. 3 days after the funding announcement, I received a felicitation request from my sister Madison. I hadn't heard from my family in over a decade, so I accepted out of curiosity. Her message seemed friendly: congratulations on my success, remarks about how they'd always known I was smart, and an invitation to reconnect. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her for coffee. The conversation started pleasantly with her updating me on her life: married, 2 kids, working in pharmaceutical sales. Then she casually mentioned that our parents had fallen on hard times. Dad had medical issues without adequate insurance, and they'd refinanced their house twice. When I didn't immediately offer financial assistance, her tone changed. You know, Mom and Dad invested everything in raising you for 17 years. All that food, clothing, education. That's why you were able to become successful. They're struggling now while you are worth millions. It's not right. I reminded her that they had kicked me out without warning or support. She shrugged and said, you were difficult. They did their best until they couldn't anymore, but they still raised you for most of your childhood, which is why you've had the capacity to build a company. They deserve something back on their investment. I left shortly after, disturbed, but assuming it was just an awkward attempt to extract money. Then yesterday I was served with lawsuit papers. My parents are suing for parental investment reimbursement, claiming they're entitled to 50% of my company because they provided the financial resources, education, and genetic capabilities that allowed me to build it. Their lawyer's demand letter specifically mentions 17 years of housing, food, educational support, and healthcare as their investment in my future success that requires compensation. Now that their investment has matured, I've already contacted my attorneys, who assure me the case has no legal merit, but say we need to take it seriously because of the potential prior nightmare if the media portrays me as an ungrateful son refusing to care for elderly parents. Mr. and Mrs. Ramirez, the people who actually supported me when I needed it most, are horrified. They've offered to testify about the condition I was in when they took me in, and my therapist has records documenting the impact of my childhood experiences. This lawsuit feels like a continuation of the emotional manipulation I experienced growing up. Part of me wants to countersue for abandonment of a minor, but mostly I just want to protect what I've built and finally close this chapter of my life.